Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? We were having this conversation yesterday. The Saints beat the Falcons, but it's pretty clear the hill they have to climb to make the playoffs is far too steep, and it's certainly unlikely. They're going to cut Jameis Winston, and Andy Dalton's a free agent. Would you, if you were the Saints, would you bring back Dalton, or would you pursue another sort of bridge free agent? Someone, for example, like, no pun intended, Teddy Bridgewater, who has a history with this organization.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, and you mentioned it, so I'm assuming when we do. Now, their first-round pick's going to who again, Matty? I can't remember.
To Philly. Yeah, so
to Philly.
The best,
exactly right.
The best team in the league is going to get a top 10 pick. Right.
Right. Yeah, they've stepped into a pile and come out smelling like a rose all year long, haven't they?
Right.
I mean, it's been phenomenal for Philadelphia. And I'm going through bridge players and I'm looking at, I was looking at a list a couple days ago, free agents, and I'm thinking off the top of my head now that, guys like Daniel Jones, Bridgewater, Brady, but I don't think that's going to happen if he wants to. Garoppolo, I think, is going to be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going through guys like that. You got Andy Dalton, so you have a bridge. So I'm assuming we're looking for, because I look at this list, and while there's some potential there, you say, well, it could be a 3 to 5 year thing. Who's going to last until we can get our next guy? Not a guy, but that guy. Yeah, if it's obvious, Matty, it's obvious with Andy Dalton, no matter what goes on, they weren't going to pull him out here at the end. He's given the reins this year. We go back and forth. Well, is it going to be Jameis? And it's obviously not. So your future is not here. The obvious part of keeping Andy Dalton is if Dennis Allen's the coach, then Andy Dalton, the system, the people, and Pete, they're all there. Now, if you're going to bring a new coach in, listen, Andy Dalton's got a ceiling right now, good player, but you're not going to get to – you're going to be fortunate if you get to January, and if you do get to January, you ain't getting to February unless everything else is perfect, and I have a lot of respect for Andy. I think Bridgewater's underrated. Now, here's an interesting thing. Why not Garoppolo? Just for a second. And he may end up being more than a bridge because you never know what's going to happen. What if this Brock Purdy thing continues to elevate? Okay, let's just think of that for a second. Continues to elevate, and you say, he takes them through, and they're in the playoffs, and they get into mid-January, and he's still playing good with this defense. Now you got a problem. Jimmy comes back, is healthy. He was having a good year. You got Jimmy, Trey Lance coming back, and Brock Purdy. You ain't keeping all three.
Okay.
I don't know how they maneuver it. What if they said we got Purdy under this rookie contract like Trey Lance, but he's a last pick of the draft. Jimmy's here. Let's keep Jimmy and Purdy, and let's use, because we don't have that many assets, how can we use Trey Lance to move him? And would he be worth the first pick? Could you give up some multiple picks that aren't a number one pick, but I think they would ask for a 1 and maybe more. So you don't have that, but would they be willing to do it down the line? Now you get a future, or if you loved him. But as far as the bridge guys go, if it was Garoppolo that was the guy out that he wanted to go start, you're not going to have to pay him $25 million or $30 million. He can be a 2-year bridge guy. You can guarantee him both years. And you may find something that the guy's like, not only is he not just a bridge guy, he can last for us. So of all the names I've gone through, and I know I'm a big Teddy fan. I think, Teddy is, the durability part, but we can ask the same thing about Jimmy. He's been hurt the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And you start to look around at bridge guys, the Case Keenums that are out there. I think he's one. Now, I'll tell you an interesting name for me. An interesting name. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to pull it off, but Geno Smith's a free agent, correct?
Yep.
If it's not just the system and Geno has rediscovered his game, he's not old. He's got some veteran. Why not Geno Smith? If you're going for a guy, Garoppolo and Geno would be the guys of this class of free agency that may be more than just bridge quarterbacks. I don't think I can run what we're doing back unless you want to make Andy the backup and get a cheaper salary from him. But if you want to have a chance to expand because you got good defense and you got some weapons, and this team's not – they didn't play well this year. There's another level for the current roster. You've got to upgrade the quarterback position, and those two guys both make it better.
So it's interesting you brought up Lance. Another name is Jordan Love. So, like,
exactly.
What happens with Aaron Rodgers, Sean? Like, if Rodgers comes back, does Green Bay just keep holding the line with Jordan Love?
If I'm Jordan Love, it's going to get to the point, Matty, you can be a great team player. When they drafted him, I can remember as plain as day me saying, why'd they do this? He's going to sit for half a dozen years. He's not going to play. And we saw last preseason that they're starting to fall. He's made some great strides by osmosis and watching and looking and learning. But there comes a point in time where it's point of diminishing returns. You got to do something. So let's just say it. $50 million a year, Aaron wants to play 2 or 3 more years. Now what? Yeah. Then we're going to be what, Matty? 6 years into his career, 7, whatever it is, and he hadn't played but a game. What was that, against Kansas City or something? So those two guys are interesting. Now, the 49ers have got a little bit of a look. You got to say to yourself, well, did we force Trey Lance into this, and we gave up a lot to get him, but our offense is moving the same or better with the other two guys in Jimmy and Purdy. So that's an interesting one. With Love, it's still and you may be able to get him cheaper because it was a year earlier, and you're not, it's kind of the out of sight, out of mind. He's good. But with the Jordan Love situation, it's almost to the point where if you're just saying you're going to move on and restart this, do you trade Aaron to the Raiders or somewhere else if he wants to go? But if he's going to finish this out, Jordan Love's still not going to see the field. So that becomes, and do you have enough to go get him? And what would it take? Both of those guys in different years are in a very unique situation because they appear to be the future, but the present's pretty good with the 49ers, and the present in Green Bay is a 4-time most valuable player. They're going to have to do something because in San Francisco you can't keep all three, and in Green Bay, eventually, if you're Jordan Love, you're just not going to show up. And I don't mean that as what he should do, but eventually you're going to go what we're doing now, this player empowerment. You're going to say, I'm not going to play here. I'm just not going to play here, and I'm leaving, and go from there. So, and with Lamar Jackson, they're going to franchise him if they can't get a contract for him, so he's not an option in Baltimore. But, yeah, I think there's going to be some viable players because it's not like the New Orleans Saints are a hack team that you're just bringing a guy in and you're going to win 4 or 5 more games. They've got players, and they're only going to get better. They're defensively pretty stout. We know they've got weapons. They just need a guy to elevate that offense and get whether it's a new coach or not. But I wouldn't have, if I was coming in there as a new coach, I have to find myself a guy who gives me a better chance to compete than I saw this year. And a couple of those guys. And if you want a real future, you may have to mortgage a little bit, but you may find a bigger bargain in one of those young guys that we mentioned in Lance or Love if they're willing to part with him. I think Green Bay's in a tougher situation with that because Aaron's near the end, but they're not going to start Love over Aaron Rodgers at $50 million a year. You and I both know it.
Okay, 2 more things. One, a popular idea around here has been the Saints using, so they don't have a first rounder, but they're going to have a high second round pick, right? Somewhere, the 30, 35, 36 range overall.
Right.
A lot of people here like the idea of drafting Hendon Hooker from Tennessee at 36 and making him your franchise quarterback. What do you, coming off the knee injury, but I know you saw him play a ton in college. What do you think about Hooker as an NFL prospect?
I love him. I think we finally got to see what can happen with the right coach and the right offense and the way they play. And I actually think that you could get this guy in the second round, and it'll end up being a steal. I love everything about him. We just didn't get to see it. So last year going into this year, I remember when I put my list together and I was doing a show, I said, here's a couple other names to look for. He was on the list of guys to keep a close eye on from what I saw and heading into this year. And I'll be damned, he elevated. If it's not for the injury, and I know some people, that will scare some people, it shouldn't. Get him healthy and go. This kid, we haven't seen his best football yet, and that's scary. So, yes, I'm one of those. It doesn't just have to have a first-round label to be a franchise quarterback. We get this thought in our mind that, if he doesn't have first-rounder, there's got to be a stigma around him. No, because if this wouldn't have happened, this is a guy who went in as a, 3rd to 5th round pick. Let's see what he does. To by the end of the year, he was, put it this way, if you compare what Will Levis, I'm more of a, here's the way I do it.
Amen.
I go production. I'm a production guy first and a potential guy second. That's the order I go. Potential's great, but it gets coaches fired if you're not good. Will Levis is going to be a top 10 pick. From what I saw in my football this year, Hendon Hooker ran circles around Will Levis's game, but we get intrigued with arm strength and all that. So for me, people got to get out. It's like a college football player, a high school guy. Parents telling their kid it's Division I or bust. No, there's a lot of good football. It's the same thing here. It's not first-round pick at quarterback or bust. I'm telling you, Hendon Hooker will prove, if he's drafted in the second or third round, that he's better than some guy that's going to be drafted in the first at his same position. I love the kid, and I was bummed for him down the stretch that happened.
Me too. Hey, before you go, Saints are going to face Deshaun Watson, another guy you know a lot about. Haven't seen him there in Houston all those years. They're going to face him this weekend in Cleveland. Short week, a Saturday game. Short week for the Saints, full week for Cleveland. Going to be cold up there. What do you think about the Saints at the Browns? Saints got to win, basically, to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that what you have now with this situation is Deshaun now going on his third game now where he can start to pick up the tempo a little bit, or fourth game, should I say, where he's starting to get a little rhythm. He's not going to be the Deshaun we saw yet. It's going to take a minute while he continues to adapt to Stefanski and all that. But what it does give you now to have to defend is a guy who can beat you with his legs on the edge, who should be another week involved in the offense and understanding how to get to the right play. And you know they can run it. So if Deshaun continues to advance, you're dealing with a guy that can beat you with his arm. Now they can beat you more than one way. But it all starts right now is protect your quarterback. They're tackling better, but this is not a great tackling team, meaning Cleveland. They've got a ways to go defensively, but if you stop the run, you got a chance. But Deshaun's still evolving into the guy he'll be eventually. You're not going to get his best, but I would prepare as if Deshaun Watson is going to throw it 25 to 30 times, and you're going to get a better version than you've seen the last 2-3 weeks.
He is Sean Salisbury on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Man, you're the best. We always appreciate your time on these Tuesdays, man. Be well.
Matty, I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.